Matthew Wolf had an incredible victory in his third tournament. Kind of sparked a frenzy on social media. My inbox has been crazy, which is neat. But also, there's been a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people maybe don't understand that, think they do, what the swing is. First off, Matt's not my student. I've always said that. I don't know Matt, never met him. He seems like an awesome kid. I hope we get to meet him. Him and Juju can hit golf balls someday. I think that'll be great. Obviously, we love his swing because it's so similar to what we do. But, so I'm going to go from the beginning, day one, of when I created this move. And when I say created this move, I'll go over what that means to me. Because I was a 22-year-old kid, and when I created it, it was something that I taught myself. And so let's just go right into it. So the last couple of years, the golf swing that I teach has started to gain some traction because of Juju, my daughter. She has a large following on social media. She switched to my swing a couple years ago. She makes it look effortless, and that has started to change people's minds about swinging differently or weird. And then, of course, Matthew Wolf swings very similar to us, so we get a lot of emails, a lot of messages, people asking, do you work with Matt? Oh my gosh, how does this work? Again, he works with George Gonkis. They do a great job. Shout out Juju, you guys are the man. But obviously, it's cool that he won because this is something I've been teaching for 17 years, a very long time. It's something very personal for me. So to see it kind of have this traction, this new wave of, people actually wanting to seek it out rather than shy away from it, which has been my experience for the last 15 of the last 17 years, is really exciting for me. So I'm going to go right into it. So in 2002, I was a 22-year-old kid. I was on the back of the driving range. There was 50 people at my course where I taught, and every single person was, traditional golf, setting their hands, trying to get somewhere to the top, trying to hold that angle. Very difficult to do, and most people, most amateurs, as all of you instructors know, as all of you players probably struggled with, when you get to the top, right, you cast, right, you lose your angle, swing with your shoulders, no power, low point control is a disaster. And so I was actually in the back of the range, and I got really frustrated, not with the golfers, but with the golf swing in general. And I thought, there has to be a better way. This was before social media, before YouTube, before I was never a historian of the game. I was a 22-year-old kid, curious. And so I went to the range, and I started working, and I thought, okay, well, if this is what everyone does, which was set their hands, go to the top, and it's something I struggled with. At the time, I was maybe a 1 handicap. I had a lot of struggles with my transition, and I hated that I always felt somewhere different at the top. Every day it felt like something different was happening at the top. And so I started tinkering with the exact opposite of setting, getting to the top, holding, everything that traditional golf is. I started tinkering with the exact opposite. So for me, the exact opposite would have been not setting, right? Taking your hands, I thought to myself, if there's a laser beam on my right hand, and I were to take this club back, past my right leg, that laser beam would still be pointing down the line, down to the target. So I started tinkering with that. Then I started thinking, okay, what about the old crankshaft cars back in the day? And I thought, wow, okay, what if I just went like this, and I just did the laser beam thing, and I just went to right here. And boy, that felt really good, right? That felt really different, okay? But zero movement in my wrist, okay? I could drop a ball from right here, right? This is my step one, right? I could drop a ball from right here, okay? And I said, wow, that feels really good. But in my hands and in my brain, all the years of traditional golf, it felt like the club face was closed, right? This felt super closed, like I was going to hit it 200 yards left. What happened was shocking to me. I got to here, I made sure I had a transition, some sort of, I call it a left hip bump, that's what I teach. I'm not a P3, P9, all these Ps, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't talk in terms like that, never have. I'm a field player. I get my players into positions that work for them. That's how I teach. Not everyone loves that, some people do. And so, for me, we can call this P 3.1415296. We'll call it pi. So, from here, right, it felt closed, but what happened was, after a little bump, after a little transition, okay, a little bit of a push, I call push and clear off the right toe. That's how I like to deliver with the legs, and that's how I did my whole long drive career. what happened was shocking. From here, okay, as I started to push, as I started to bump and transition, which was key for me, right, because you didn't want to get here and then set and then go. It ruined everything, right? It actually just turned it into a weird traditional golf swing. It did not work. So the key was there had to be a movement, a transition into the downswing before I allowed that right wrist to go, okay? And what happened was, from here, the closed 200-yard hook turned into this, right? And all of a sudden, my eyes got really big because not only did it feel powerful, but the club kept returning to the same spot over and over and over. And I didn't have to manipulate it. I didn't have to roll the toe face over. I didn't have to roll the toe of the club open. I didn't have to try to get into this position or whatever the heck I was working on that seemed to differ every day by, millimeters, right? This never moves, right? This is your lever. From here to here, this will never change unless my arm grows 3 inches, which I'm pretty sure my arm's done growing, right? So from here to here, okay, right, it's never going to change. So now I've eliminated a lot of variables in my mind, okay? The rolling of the forearm, the rolling of the wrist, the setting of the hands. From here to here, it was identical every time. So I would go back, step 1, I would transition, bump, and boom, my club face is dead square. So I did that for 6 weeks, all by myself, pounded balls. This was, so, quick history. You'll see me kind of limping today. You'll see me struggling. I've had a back disease since I was 15 years old. It has nothing to do with golf. In fact, I'm convinced this golf swing allowed me to prolong my golf career. And so, if I have to take a break, or if I have to have Juju come in, I had to retire 4 years ago from golf entertainment. I miss it every day. I don't practice golf. I don't play golf. I play golf with Juju on our anniversary of when I adopted her, which is in December every year. I try to play 13 or 14 holes. Once in a while, a scramble will come along and Juju will beg me to play, and I want to be there for her. And I try to play as much as I can on that day. It's just hard. And so golf's done for me, and that's okay because Juju has her journey, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. And so for 6 weeks, okay, 6 weeks, step 1, right? Step 1, as I call it, bump, set, right? And all of a sudden, I became like this robot, okay? Like this robot, okay? And all of a sudden I was hitting these little tiny swings, okay? Can't even get to my positions because my back is so bad now. Just frustrating. But I was hitting 8 irons. I was always, fortunately, very long. I had already been to the World Championships before for long driving. But my irons went from long to like, whoa, long. I mean, this little swing that was going to here, I was hitting 8 irons 170 to here, 175. So I thought to myself, this feels great. How do I go to the top? Let's just keep going, right? That's what I told myself, okay? So we're gonna take our position 1, right, which is here. We lock that position in, and all I wanted to do was go from here and lift this back of this right hand straight to the sky, where we wanted that shaft to match my spine angle. And what happened was when I added the bump, and I had this tremendous setting. I didn't know what shallowing was back then. I was 22, right? I was just learning how to create something that felt good for me, right? This wasn't something I was planning on teaching people. I didn't know what was going to happen. And so this felt incredible, right? These angles, tension in my shoulder was gone. I felt like I could take a nap up here, right? Before, traditional golf, and a lot of students have shared this with me, and maybe you've experienced this, they always felt like there was this tension at the top, this pulling, to where they didn't have a moment of freedom up there. And I feel like that's why I call step 2 the Statue of Liberty, because it kind of looks like it, right? But it gives you a little freedom at the top. It's kind of cheesy, but it works for us. I'm a cheesy guy, and that's okay. Step 1, back of the right hand up to step 2, a little bump, we let the club set, and next thing you know, I go to Colorado. I was 22, drove 1,800 miles. I felt so good about how I was hitting the golf ball. I used to hit a big, huge, overly done draw. Went from playing that to a small fade with everything. And I could shape the ball all over the golf course with this swing without changing my setup, which we'll go into later. So I drove to Colorado for a qualifier for the World Championships. It was actually a 2-step qualifier. I wasn't even qualified for the qualifier. I was so confident I drove to Colorado. I won the qualifier. I broke 3 heads. Ping was my sponsor back then. The old ISI square head. It was fun. I borrowed a club at the qualifier for the World Championships in the semifinals. Got very lucky. I'd already gone 465, 475 that day. Balls were jumping. I was hitting it super well. And I hit a ball that they announced 5'11". And at the time I weighed 149 pounds. Super skinny. I wasn't a big fat old man like I am now. You know, there's no Guinness World Record or anything for this. My buddy Mike Dobbin hit a ball 551. Machine, what an animal. I was there the day he did it at a golf tournament. But at the time, it was the first time that anyone had ever had a ball announced over 500 yards in an official long drive event. And so it was pretty neat. And it kind of kick-started me teaching people this swing. And so fast forward a few years, I was doing an exhibition, a fundraiser, which I started to do a lot of. I really enjoyed that, for the retired NBA players, Hall of Fame players, what they called the legends. And there was a large number of them. It was after the event. We were all having drinks, hanging out. And I was giving a demonstration similar to what I'm doing now. And Rick Barry was in the back, guy who shot free throws underhanded. Rick comes through the crowd and he goes, I want to go try that. Well, it was almost midnight in Vegas, but the driving range was still open. I said, let's go. Within 5 minutes, I start telling him about the move. I start showing him the move. He hits a 4-iron around 245, 250. He was 60 years old, 63 years old, right? 62 years old at the time. And I said, Rick, I'm going to make you world champion of long driving. He laughed. I was pretty serious. I don't think he thought I was serious. In 2006, he finished second. He lost to the last guy, last ball. In 2007, he won. In 2008, he won. In 2008, he went 370 plus yards at 64 years old at the World Championships. And so that was some pretty neat validation for what I had created. Again, I say created because for me, you know, I hadn't heard of Miller Barber until 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I didn't hear about Jimmy Brune until a year and a half ago. And so this was something to me that I had never heard of, I'd never seen videos of, never heard anybody talk about it. Everyone that saw what I did made fun of me. They told me it was silly, it was never going to work. Even though it changed my career and it helped Rick win and other stories along the lines of that. So that's the history of when I created it, why I created it. I say created again because it was personal to me and I had never seen or heard of anything like this. And so it's neat to know now that Jimmy Brune was essentially the first person that ever did this. I feel like he's like a long lost great grandpa or something. It's amazing that Matt Wolf does this and he's having success. That part's not amazing. I know he's going to have success because I know the move works. I see it with my 12-year-old daughter every single day and she blows me away. And so I love the back and forth online, but hopefully this video clears up a few things about my position on the swing, why I created it, where I stand on it, and why I teach it. You know, we want to talk about, a lot of people ask me, why is it better, Brad? Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. Initially, we talked about a minute ago how most golfers get to here, they set, and they get up to here, and they lose their angle, they swing with their shoulders, no power, no consistency, and so that's why I initially created the move so I could tinker, and then I had no idea that it was going to create the angles for me, right? So getting to step one and feeling that bump, and then what happens is you allow that club to set, right, and create these unbelievable angles. And by doing that, now we've inadvertently created way less tension in our shoulders and upper body. And I'm a firm believer that speed comes from the elbows down, power comes from the legs, and you put the two together, now you have a deadly combination. So obviously tension goes down, in my opinion. Angles get maximized. And for consistency, I don't think you can have an easier way to repeat something. Rather than fanning the toe open, setting here, do we set here? Do we lift up our arms and then set? Nobody really knows what they want to do, especially the higher handicaps. They struggle with that. And it changes every day, and this never changes, right? We do certain drills where we practice getting to step one, and this never changes. This move, right, never changes, right? We're not rolling, we're not cupping underneath, right? We're just taking this position, okay, and taking it to right here, right? And this wrist doesn't move. And then we take this position and we take it up to here, right? And so now we've eliminated, when I always tell people it eliminates variables, that's what I'm talking about. in the forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, right? Club face. It's eliminating all these variables. And for everyone that says the club face is closed, well, it would be closed if we took it back and twisted our hands in this way, right? And rotated the club face, right? The club face never rotates, right? It gets here, we take it back, we come right under to here, right palm to the ground, club face to the ground, right? And there's no rotating or manipulating of the club. And what happens is when we set, the club returns itself to right there every single time. Okay? That's what happens once you learn to move correctly. Where people get in trouble, they try to teach themselves, they give up halfway through, and they don't commit to learning step one. If you don't learn step one, you're never going to have the golf swing. It's going to be a disaster, because a half and half version of this does not work. A full version of this can change your golf life. I'm not saying that for some sort of selling point. I don't have a DVD I'm selling. I've seen it. I've lived it. Changed my golf life. Shot 63 times in 8 months after I did this. I set the world record at the time. Was the first guy to go over 500 yards. It changed my whole golf world. I believe it changed my daughter. She was a pretty darn good golfer with traditional golf. It changed her repeatability, her ball flight, her speed. Everything improved when she asked to switch to this, which was really neat that she wanted to do that, because I didn't want to force my weird swing on my daughter. And so when I tell people it's eliminating variables, that's what I'm talking about, because it does. It eliminates all these extra parts that are moving, going back, and eliminates the questions of what we're doing. And we know that, boom, we hit step one, boom, we hit step two, we bump, we set, we just go, and boom, we hit a lot of golf balls really far and really straight. And so I don't mind answering all the questions. I love it. I don't even mind the back and forth, but hopefully this video I can just send to people and say, hey, here you go, here's the information, and if you still have questions, let's go from there. So anyways, have a great day. Congrats, Matt, and talk to y'all later.